Okay, I'm just going to start drawing this thing. It's quite interesting because I'm going to do a little thing like that and imagine that's the center, and this I'm thinking this is probably coming out this direction, and these are the ovaries and the pistil coming out to the stigmas, sort of out at the end like that. And what's interesting is that I picked these about, I don't know, 2-3 hours ago, and I don't know if you can see here. See, so these bits are falling off here. So these are stamens and anthers. Stamens are the whole thing. So you've got the filament with the anther on the end, and these are these little bits which come out around the side of the flower here. So you've got the stigma and the stigma and the pistil bit there, and then these are anthers, but here there are these whole other sort of ring of things here which are nectaries. So that's where it creates sort of sugary honey stuff to entice bees and stuff in like that. So I'm going to have to imagine some of these bits because they've fallen off. It's probably the warmth of the studio that's done that. And what am I doing here? I'm actually kind of measuring angles, and that's going to come about there, and that's sort of coming like that. So this is the actual flower that I'm drawing. You can see it's a beautiful kind of lemon colour with those amazing lines of maroon spots on the petals. And that's coming down there like that. So I can start on the petal here, and that's going to come around and has this little kind of folds and ripples. Actually, that's going more up that way, and then this very kind of voluptuous ripples in a way that there's something about, because they're not brightly coloured, when they sort of sit in the flower bed in this time of year, and it's actually sort of raining and pretty miserable outside, then you tend to kind of go past them, and they haven't got these bright colours. They've got these slightly acidy kind of colours, I suppose. I don't know. And so you can sort of think, oh, they're not terribly exciting. And then when you actually look at the shape of them, they do have these rather kind of sort of voluptuous curves and curls on them, which I've not noticed before. That doesn't feel right. That wants to come up about there. And more of a curve. Just get rid of those bits. It's really tricky. I don't think that's high enough altogether, actually. I'm just going to do that again. So this is coming up more up there, and then it's coming pretty much straight across there, and then like that, and then down, so that we have this kind of curve underneath there. That's looking more like it. And that then comes around to there. That feels about right. Good. And then this is, again, we've got these very voluptuous, I think is the word, kind of curves in these petals, which, as I say, without close inspection, they kind of look possibly boring. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I don't want to upset them. They can hear you, they can speak. Well, they can't speak, but they know what you're saying. And they don't like it when there's a little kind of thing going on there. They don't like you saying rude things about them. Well, who does? Who does like to have rude things said about them? No one really. So that's sort of curving out there, and then this is coming there, and then this feels very voluptuous. A bit more like that, and down to there, and then this should then sort of come sweeping up to about there, and then behind here we've got a leaf like that, and then we've got a stalk coming down there, and the leaf, which are kind of really weird shaped things. They sort of come to a bit of a point there like that, and then they kind of bifurcate, and they're kind of three section kind of petal things that sort of then kind of come out and do something like that, and then we've got a bigger kind of thing doing something like that, and then that one's curling around underneath, and then we can take the stem down there, and there's a little kind of a bud in there, and another leaf which will be sort of coming around there, and these leaves again have got this kind of, I should be doing this slightly serrated edges. Bits falling off the flower all the time. It's only got one nectary left. That it must mean something. Something's going on. We need to have another kind of thing going on. That sort of down there, and then we can take this on into another kind of a drooping thing like that, and another thing like that. So then we're going to do this one slightly smaller flower from which is much more from above it, really, like that, and that wants to come back to there. So we got the one, two, three, so we've got 5 petals, and this one is on top, and you can do your head in trying to work all this out. So that one then will be kind of up behind there a bit and curved, and then that will sort of come around like that, which means then we can draw this one here, which then sort of goes like that, and then we're just going to see a tiny little bit of that one over that side. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of draw in these nectaries in here, and then make these stamens more kind of obvious like that, and then we want to get the stigmas a little bit more obvious too, and they'll be in there going in like that, and I think you can probably just kind of do something like that. I think I'm going to just put some kind of guidelines coming in, because we've got these beautiful markings which are going to take forever. I'm just going to do that really. So these are the kind of lemon coloured ones that I have outside my studio, which greet me as I come up to work every morning. And then these are sort of another lot that I have hiding away. I've just cleared away some stuff in front of them to reveal them. They're a much sort of darker, dusty raspberry pink. And these are a much paler pink, and they're very much hanging their heads. This is the one that you can see at the top left-hand corner of the picture frame while I'm drawing. And then this is a really pretty double flowered it has a pickety edge to it. And I was digging some of these up to give to friends last year, and I think I gave away all the pickety ones, so I only have one left. At least I got one, so that will keep growing. I'm going to try this. This is a Hardman Aquarelle. I bought these last year, never used them. I was going to do a lot of a particular kind of painting and never did. That's the way these things go. So I wonder if I just add a tiny bit of that will make it just slightly acidic. So this is neutral tint that I'm adding to it. And yeah, so I'm just going to, I think, going to just paint all these petals. I'm trying to work out what happened there. That's we want that bit, yeah. I'm just going to paint them all. Let's do this kind of basic coat. So this is, you know, very much a kind of a sketch, really. I'm not going to take forever over it. And then we're going to want a little bit of kind of green down here, just to get the green kind of in, like that. And then I'm going to do that same kind of yellow in here. And as ever with watercolour, it's not about painting, it's about drawing with light, really. I've said it a million times, I think. The light is coming from the paper through the paint. If you want to paint and watercolours or acrylics or something like that, then you put the colour, then you're actually putting colour down on the paper or the canvas. Here you are painting a transparent film over the light that is shining through, that is reflected from the paper. So you just have to imagine that the paper is actually like a kind of a bright light, you know, one of these light pad things, and imagine that the light is pouring through these very thin transparencies that you're putting on the top. And I think we've got quite an acid green kind of stems as well, so I think I could probably sort of do something like that at the oh, that's too acid, I think. So I'm just mixing up sort of random shades of green, really, just to sort of build that basic sort of colour in there. And we're going to have that little bud, and I can't tell what's going on here anymore. So I'm just making it up now. I think there's something about sort of this kind of thing where when you start out you think, oh no, this is all going wrong, and you just think, oh, I'll give up. But the secret really, really is, and it's the same as I was saying in my snowdrop video, the secret is persistence. You just got to keep on going, and if you do, very often the thing that you think is looking a complete mess just pulls together at the last minute, and you go, oh, right. And you'll never know if you don't actually persist and carry on. And it's by doing that you get to the end and you go, oh, I see. I see where I thought I was going wrong, and I see where I have gone right. And you have to just go through these things to learn how to get to the end. And the only way you learn to get to the end is by actually doing it. And each time you may find it a little easier with a bit of luck. So keep going for that yellow. I don't need to. And I want this more more bluey now, bluey green kind of thing. I've got them written down here. I don't know what those greens are. I did write them down to make it easy to explain, but I can't actually read it because there's so much dust and rubbish in there. Right, I'm going to kind of put a line down the middle of that and then just kind of smooth it to the edges so that we have this kind of thickness there. And a bit more. And like I said, with it's layers, transparent layers of colour, and you just build them up slowly, layer by layer, just putting them on. If the paint is wet, it's going to bleed into it and you get lots of lovely effects. If the paint is dry, then you can get nice little sharp edges to it, and it's all going to give you something else entirely. So I don't know what is going on with this leaf. I can't remember how I drew it. I know this should be much darker in there. Have some of that green, I don't know. I'm actually going to put a bit of burnt sienna in there. The sepia. I'm going to add a bit of sepia with that as well, just in the background there. And I think I might have to add a little bit of hard colour over the top to give the veins and things on afterwards. It's just too delicate to try and draw them in a resist kind of way, I think. Yeah, so I think we're going to need some of this sort of coming down to here like that. This is not a a botanical illustration. Botanical illustrations are very, serious things for botanists. So they need to be absolutely right, botanically correct. That's a petal. See, I'm thinking, I'm not looking. I'm thinking that's kind of like a sepal or something over there, but it's not, and it's not even a sepal. So let me do that, and then these do in fact have a bit of sort of green coming out like that. Clean. This is a water brush, in case you don't know. I mean, it's just dabbed a load of water on there, and so the water flows through the brush. And then to clean it, just dab on a piece of tissue or something like that. I think we can do something with these sort of sepals coming up there. And we want a bit of sort of shape to that. And again, you're going to want to have this sort of green coming out from there. So I'm using a bit of green, a sort of shade underneath the petal there. And again, we're going to want it a bit darker in there too. So this petal here is kind of on top, and so I'm using this green to send the other petal behind it and maybe a bit darker. And it has this kind of green in the petals at this point here. I'm going to get a bit of sepia in here. I'm going to see if I can do this. Some people who watch me a lot know that I love to use neutral tint. Well, I have actually used a little bit, haven't I think already. I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try and do it all in sort of greens and darken up the greens with a bit of sepia instead. I'm just going to dry this with my hairdryer. I just realised I've got the paper upside down. I am going to use some neutral tint. So this is very much a Winsor & Newton colour. Maybe a little bit of blue, ultramarine French in there. It's very much a Winsor & Newton colour. It's similar things like sort of Davies grey and things like that. So I'm going to use some of this around the back here, and I've got the wrong surface. I've got the backside surface of this paper by mistake. If you want to know, it's sea white watercolour paper. So I'm putting this in here as a kind of a foil sort of background to help the lighter shade stand out, help the yellow kind of stand out, and then as I come around I'm going to let it all kind of fade a bit. I want it to be kind of reasonably dark around the petals to let them stand out. So I'll get that to about there. And while you're working in two areas, you've got to keep it on the move in those areas if you're wanting them to join up at some point. And keep it wet, keep it on the move. It doesn't help that I've just been heating this with a hairdryer, and that has probably dried all the paper out and everything. So, and now I'm not going to add any more grey tone. I'm just going to kind of squeeze the brush and let it all kind of fade out here so that we have the shade behind the petals. I've dried it out, and I'm going to let this sort of darker green add a bit of shape to the whole thing. I think we're going to want some sort of coming in there, and I'm going to clean the brush and just kind of wash that away. And we're going to need a bit on here as well, something like that. Just sort of adding sort of shape to the to it all. So this is going to need, I think I need to do quite a lot of this cleaning the brush and kind of fading it like that. And then we need a little bit of kind of grayness up around here like that. And that will also help to let those pistils and stigmas stand out. So, but we need these brush strokes to sort of come out at particular angles, which will then sort of help give a shape to the thing. We got this. It's really difficult. I think also maybe that I've got lights on, studio lights on, but then there's also a bit of daylight, and I think that's starting to fade. It's started raining outside. I have a bit of sort of green in there, I think so. That wants to come down like that, so it's kind of an internal kind of shape going on, and then we have a bit more sort of a greenness in there, rather. Sort of a darker bit in here again, but then we want to kind of fade it there like that, and then quite a darkish bit underneath here in there, and we get that just around the corner there, and then down there, and then we really want to wash it out and fade it into there, and kind of wash that up around there too. This has these beautiful sort of pink spots in the throat of the petals, which I think is going to really kind of help. I'm just going to use my neutral tint now just to add that a little bit of darkness into there and into there. Just right underneath these nectaries. We're going to want to have a bit of things going on with these anthers, filaments, stamens coming up into there, and then we're going to want these kind of wiggly ends, although they are actually kind of bright yellow really. And so I'm going to add a little bit more sort of darker green down to there, just to try and get a feeling of that coming out there. We need to do more on these leaves, I think, so I'm going to do something like that. Oops, I think I've gone slightly over. I always have a bit of kitchen towel close by, and then I'm kind of maybe try and get a bit of a hint of, no, that's not going to work. Okay, so I'll just put a layer of tone in there, and again underneath here. You can see here I'm kind of using a mush of greens, and I'm not kind of using one green, and I'm just kind of adding little bits of sepia in there just to darken things up. And you don't want to get, I think if you're just using the one colour, it does start to look difficult. I think these petals all together are just difficult, and the leaves rather. So I think I'm going to put a little sort of hints of these sort of lines on the back of the petals, and then I'm going to start getting some of this sort of purpley colour, some purpley red. I'm going to have a bit of this alizarin crimson. That's more like it. So on the back here we got these, I think I've got to do this so finely. Got some, and there, I think that's too it's too unsubtle, and then we're going to want some coming here. So I need to, so I'm really thinning these down with water, and then that kind of gives a bit of shape to that, and then we're going to want to have sort of one or two coming down there. Now it's going to be much darker on the inside of the petals, so these are going to sort of come like that. This is not an easy thing to to draw. So they're all sort of coming out that way, and then that's sort of curving out that way. That's message from Mrs. Rayner. Oh, they were getting very. You see, it's this resilience thing. It's the keep on going, and I keep thinking, oh, this doesn't look right. But then, as I keep adding more of this, and sort of, it helps to create the ness of the Hellebore, and this is the thing I've been talking about for many years. Ness. It was the thing my daughter came up with. It's the, you know, like the Hellebore-ness of the whole thing, or the ness, the essential thing that makes it what it is. I think we probably need to just darken some of these up. Add a bit of slightly darker colour. Like that. That. We're going to want a bit coming up around the outside there too. And I'm going to add a little bit of kind of darkness either side of the pistils. Pistil. I think it's the filament. No, it's the. Oh, I've forgotten. That's a message from Mrs. Ray. Now with pictures, she's just become a god grandmother. Her goddaughter's had a little baby. How sweet. Right, I'm thinking I need a bit more sort of blue in with these greens to get. This is kind of wanting to come in underneath. And then that's going to be underneath too. I can't really work out what's going on with these leaves. when I look at the flower, it makes sense. When I return back to look at the painting, it doesn't. Oh, we're going to want a bit of shade underneath there too. It's just about having a bit of fun. Having a go, isn't it? So I've been looking at these in my garden for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks now, thinking they're going to be over soon, and I really should have a go at painting them. I've been thinking about, this actually needs to be a bit darker down there, that's right. I've been thinking of painting these yellow ones for, I've had them outside my studio for about 10 years now, I should think. And every year they start to come up, and I kind of reluctantly cut away all the last year's growth to reveal this stuff coming through, and I think, they're going to be, they need the protection, but they don't, and then suddenly, pow, out they come, and this is fantastic, it's a little lemon yellow, little nodding collections that are waiting to greet me every morning. There's something very strange going on here. I can't quite work out what I did, and I'm going to pretend that I do know what's going on. Not sure what that bit there is. I'm going to do something I don't do very often. This is Naples yellow in a tube. I've got a bit of white. I've got a bit of white up there as well. So, I haven't used this for so long. It's in such a state. Ugh. So this will give me a more thick kind of colour, which means then I can kind of add these bits of highlight, but I don't want to highlight them in white, and then so I'm going to want to have these stamens, pistils and things coming out there, which that really isn't explaining what's going on there at all. So I think I'm just about to give up. And here you can see there's a bit of white has kind of entered into that, and it just changes the whole nature of the paint. It kind of turns it into a gouache, and add a bit of kind of golden into there, and just add that around there. So now I'm just going to move the whole thing around a little bit, try and get a really sharp point on my brush, and just to kind of draw some veins in on there to give it a bit of shape. And underneath here, I think that can be a bit darker. And I'm not quite sure what I'm doing there. That's sort of coming around there. No, I'm just I'm making it up now. I'm not really concentrating on not really looking. We're going to want a bit of something going on like that. And underneath there. And then this one here is going to want to have some kind of a shape to it as well. Let's do that in there. And I think I'm just going to leave that there as a bit of a wet Monday afternoon exercise. Thanks for watching, and make sure you are subscribed to the Shoe Rain and Drawing channel and keep coming back for lots more drawing videos every week. In the meantime, keep drawing, drawing, drawing. Practice, practice, practice. And I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.